Okay, now we'll go to physical affection. And this is so important in our day and time. Physical affection is love supply number 3, and it's the last of the 3 love supplies, which are called tenderness love supplies. See on your love supplies chart the word that goes up the side there, tenderness. These 3 develop tenderness or lovability in the little child, or sanctity of his real self and his human feeling identity seed. The 3 that we're going to talk about later on, probably in the next hour, are power building. They build confidence and adequacy in the child rather than inferiority. So this is the last one of the tenderness love supplies, called physical affection. It's defined like this: non-sexual touching that gives. And that's the secret right there. Non-sexual touching that gives, not takes. And that's why I said yesterday, do not say to a kid, give me a hug. Oh, I need a hug. Oh, Daddy needs a hug. He's worked so hard today. Why shouldn't you do that? Because it's taking from the child. And when she or he gets older, they will be giving hugs for wrong reasons when they don't want to, and they can't say no. 40% of all children sexually abused were never allowed to say no. Don't take from kids physically. You need hugs. Get them from yourself or God or your wife, but not a little kid.
What if you see someone else needs a hug and you want to give them one without saying, oh, you need a hug?
Don't say that. Say, I would like to give you a hug. See? I teach primary 9-year-olds. And there's this girl, she has the most long hair, and there's a boy. He doesn't get much physical affection. And he's always playing with her hair and braiding it. And so I said to Derek, I know you love Laura's hair, but what we should do nowadays is to ask her if you could touch her hair. If she says yes, fine, enjoy. But if she says, I'd rather not, then you can't. Oh. So the other day we were in a show and tell, and he was playing with her hair, and I said, Lauren, did he ask you? Yeah, he did, and I said yes. Pretty good. Derek said, yeah, I asked her, can I play with your hair? And why is he twirling her hair? Because they don't have a lot of physical affection in their family. The father is very overweight. You read this on the other side. Overuse of food, sex, drugs, violence. People that don't get held will do food to turn their body on. Why do little kids need to be held? Why did God dream up nursing? Why do little kids, male and female, need skin contact? Twirl your hair, touch your face. I've had so many patients go back in time to their little girl, and I said, what does she need the most? See what the big self will give her. And they start to cry and say, she wants the big self to touch her face. Why does she want the big self to touch her face? No one ever did. So touch your kid's face. Do their hair, but don't take. Little ones, you don't have to say to the baby, may I nurse you now? But as they get older and they have their boundaries and they don't want to take a bath with you anymore, then I would like to give you a hug if you like. Sure. So boundaries are very important. Physical affection is very good. And now what does it mean, touching? I'll tell you a story and you'll know. When I was a school psychologist, a mother came to me and she said, you know, Dr. Ellsworth, I heard your lecture at PTA about love supplies. And I wanted to go home and do these. And I have a 14-year-old boy. So in the morning after breakfast, I wanted to give him a hug. I had to chase him around the table to catch him. Why? Because they never did that. She was turning over a new leaf. You just don't go up to someone you haven't hugged for 14 years and they'll run. And she said, because 14 can run faster than 40, he ran out of the house and down the street to school. And she came to school crying, and she knocked on my office door. And she was mad, because I was a quack quack, teaching her to give these love supplies, and this kid hated it. And then I saw the boy. And I said, Eric, well, how come you don't like it if your mom hugs me? And he said, I wouldn't hug her if she's the last lady on the earth. Why, Eric? You sound so angry at her. When she hugs me, I feel sucked dry. He went like that. You feel that your mother gives in order to get? That's exactly right. Empathy. You feel she gives in order to... What does it mean to give in order to get? How many of you people in here know when someone hugs you if they're giving or taking? I've asked a lot of people this. They raise their hand. Well, how do you know? Well, they don't let go when I'm through. They don't ask. They don't know if I'm in the mood. They don't know if that's my favorite love supply. And so many women say this. Why should I hug someone I can't even talk to? And even worse, why should I go to bed with someone I can't even talk to? You shouldn't, Alice, and don't ever do it again. He'll divorce me. And you should say, that's the nicest thing you ever did for me. Why? Because physical affection, it goes like this. We're going to give you a chart about this later, but it goes like this. This is the way our affection should progress. Emotional unions. What is an emotional union? It's all about feelings. How many of you have a friend that you really connect with? How do you know that? Well, we're soulmates. I know that she was my dearest friend in the previous life. That's an emotional union. We just click. You can tell, right? Emotional unions go to verbal unions. That girl that you click with, I'll bet you money when you and her start to talk, time goes by like a... We can talk on the phone for 2 hours. Oh my gosh, it's 10 o'clock. Verbal unions. She knows how I feel before I even talk to her. We take turns. We're two of a kind, two peas in a pod, put together by God. Right? That's us. And do you guys hug each other? Yes, we do. I love to hug her, right? Now, these three, emotional unions, verbal unions, physical, non-sexual physical unions, NSPA, these should be done with every child. Now, why would you have an emotional, mystic bond with a child? Because in the pre-existent, premortal life, that child made a contract with you that you would be his body mommy. And that's why there's a mystic bond. Just like maybe your husband was one of your dearest friends in the pre-existence. Who knows? If you're married by divine confirmation, which very few people bother to do, there's emotional. You should be able to talk for hours with your kid. You should be able to. And you should, this physical affection, number 3, should flow. So the kid loves to hug you, tangle your hair. I've had people say, you know how I like to go to church, Brother Ellsworth? Because it's the only time my mom or my dad will touch me. I had a patient once and said, see this little crease in your arm? It's very soft. And he said, when I was little, I loved it because my dad would stroke that very soft part of my arm. And I never saw my dad. He was always gone. But I loved church because he would stroke my arm when I was little. Physical, verbal, and they used to love to take trips with his dad because they would drive from Washington, D.C. to Salt Lake City, 2,300 miles, and Dad would talk, and he would let me talk. Never when we were at home, what would he do? Clean your room. Have you done your chores? Did your homework? He was a cop instead of a verbal union pal and friend. Are you a cop or a friend? Okay? So that's the way it should go. Now, in our chart, which we'll talk about later, these three things should pursue or go before sexual union. If they don't go there. Sex is a minor part of a healthy relationship and a major part of an unhealthy relationship. And sex is one optional way, and it's a minor way to celebrate the foundation, emotional, verbal, and NSPA unions. Sex is not to get something you don't have. It's to celebrate something you do have. So the real self goes this way, the negative self goes this way. Lots of people do sex to compensate for the fact that they can't talk. So many women tell me, do I have to make love with someone that I can't even talk to? And the answer is absolutely not. That's called mini rape. Well, you're supposed to do your duty. Ugh. If you're doing sex for wrong reasons, so will your kids. And who taught it to them? You did. You yourself. So many parents say, my daughter's 14 and she's pregnant. My son, blah, blah, got this girl. But all they do is make out, blah, blah, blah. What did I do wrong? Well, let's talk a little bit about your relationship with your husband. Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, then you'll never get the answer. Emotional, verbal, these are the three things, and they should precede. And so think about that when we talk about physical affection. Your kid is not going to hug you if you can't talk to him. And if you make him, then of course, you're hurting him, and you're hurting the body. Now, so be sure that you don't need a hug. Why would a mommy need a hug from her daughter? To prove that she was a good mommy. That's why that lady in the story was trying to hug her kid, to prove that she was a good mommy. And he could tell that she's taking. And that kid told me a story. He said, when I was in the 6th grade, I won a blue ribbon for the 50-yard dash. I brought it home, showed it to my mom. She snatched it out of my hand, ran next door. Mabel, Eric got the blue ribbon. As if to say, ain't I great? That's taking, isn't it? What should she have done? Oh, that's wonderful, honey. I'm glad. How do you feel about it? I'd love you if you lost. Right? Instead of taking and doing it. And that's where the kid got the idea that he wouldn't hug his mom, that she was a big taker, and if she was the last one. So, here we go. Touching that gives, not takes. Hugs, pats, holding, rocking, cuddling, snuggling, hand-holding, skin contact, nursing infants. And the same thing I said yesterday, if you don't want to nurse them or can't, you should hold them next to your skin while you give them the bottle. The baby's body needs to be held. I know a research that said a child needs 8 hugs a day. And it wasn't just. Now, you can tell a lot by the way people hug you. There used to be a little handout, I wish I had it, but it talked about several different kinds of hugs. And it had a picture of 2 people. Down home, down south, they'd say, I want to hug your neck. And we called this an A-frame hug. And lots of people give you an A-frame hug. Well, I'm going to hug your neck, right? And often they do that because they've been taught, you better hug like this because if you do it like this, someone's going to get sexually aroused, and you'll be a dirty, nasty girl. So this is an A-frame hug. And then they have these duty hugs. Have you ever had someone hug you? Come here, Peggy. They go like this. This is a duty hug. And you say, why did you hug me? They pat your back. They're nervous. They're tense. They're doing you do. A-frame, duty hug, pat, get in, get out, wham, bam. Okay. And then there's the bear hug. What's a bear hug? And we have this exercise we do in some of the workshops that I present where they go on for a day or two. And there's one circle of people is on the inside, and one circle is on the outside. And you're facing your partner. The inside circle is facing outward. The outside circle is facing inward. This is really cool. And you stand in front of someone, and the director of the exercise says, make a signal how you would like to greet this person, because you've never seen this person before. 1, if you would like to shake their hand. 2, if you would like to give them an A-frame hug. 3, if you would like to give them a bear hug. And so you're standing there and you're looking into eyes, and everyone's nervous and they laugh, because keeping eye contact is very embarrassing. And if this was a workshop, we would 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Ones would maintain eye contact for a whole minute. You try that sometimes. I know a guy that used to punish his kids that were fighting by making them sit in a chair and maintain eye contact for 1 whole minute. Have you ever maintained eye contact for 1 whole minute? What happens? Good, good. Pretty soon, you start to really love this person, even if they don't have brown skin, brown eyes, long neck, skinny. Because they're your sister, they're your brother. And you start to, hey, I just love this person. I don't care how old or fat or... And so eye contact is very good. And when we get the whole group standing there maintaining eye contact, you'll hear these giggles. It's called nervous laughter. Nervous means afraid. Because people don't bond like that these days. They just don't. And so they stand there maintaining eye contact, and while they're maintaining eye contact, they put this signal in behind them. A 1, a 2, or a 3.
Oh my gosh.
And then the instructor says, okay, show your signal. And up comes a hand like this. Show it, and then do it. And then they shake hands. And then they move to the next person.
Wait a minute. What if one puts up a 1 and one puts up a 3?
Isn't this great? What happens if one puts up a 1 and the other puts up a 3? You see, they work it out. They'll shake hands and then hug. But watch what's happening. As they go to the new person and they maintain eye contact with her and they make their signal behind, then as time goes on, you're going to see more and more what? And pretty soon, after about 10 people, these old hard people who do this and wouldn't say yuck if they had a mouthful. They're having a wonderful time. What happens? It's a great exercise. We could do it if we could get these dumb chairs out of the way. And you would experience something about being a brother and a sister and the great and beautiful thing. How many of you know what meditate means? You follow your breathing. You follow your pulse. How many of you can feel your pulse without touching here or there? You want to get more sensitive and deep? Practice. Laying on your bed or couch or chair, feeling your pulse. If you do this for long periods of time, you'll be able to feel your little blood pump, whack, and then it goes to every part of your body. And how many have ever followed your breathing? When you go inside like that, what do you discover? This human feeling, identity, seed. And you love her. You fall in love with this God self that's inside of you. That's what the Eastern people do when they meditate. And research shows that they're clearly more peaceful, more calm, less nervous, more internal. So anyway, think about physical affection. And how many of you know if you come from a closed up home or an open home? How many came from a home where physical affection was pretty great? How many came from a home where it was medium? How many came from a home where it was unheard of? Right? Now, that's very important to know. How many of you that came from a home where physical affection didn't work are trying to correct that in your present family? That's what we hope. Why? Because kids need it, and if they don't get it, they're going to do what? Overuse of food, sex, drugs, and violence. Why? Those are body turn-ons. And they turn on the body as a compensation for the turn-on they should have had long before they knew what drugs or sex was when they were little. Yes?
Back to the hugging, when you say that for a child and adult relationship, and you say, can I give you a hug? Is it inappropriate with two adults if you're sensing that that person might want a hug to go ahead and just do that? Or
You can do it without words. Did you hear that question? Is it inappropriate to not to go ahead and hug without words if the message is already there that they would love hugs? And the answer is absolutely, it's good. How many of you know if someone wants a hug from you without any words? Yes, you can tell, because they'll come up or they'll stand up instead of sit there. So this is very important. It's not bad. And what are we saying? The horrible sex problems of our society, and the sexual abuse problems, and the child molesting, and the pornography, and the rape, and on, come from a lack of proper skin contact when the kid was very, very small. No one wants to look at that. I have a book called Latter-day Plague. It's out there. It's called Breaking the Chains of Pornography, Cures, Preventions, Causes. I have people write me letters. I hate that book. I want my money back. You blame it all on women. Because chapter 2 has 10 pornography patients finishing sentences. I do porn because. And there you have it right in front of you. Mom was always. And dad, but you can see the difference. Rejection by moms, and then sisters, and girls in public schools, and wives. And they're going to go turn on their body with food, sex, drugs, or violence because it was never valued. Now, there's 4 things that you must never do to a child's body. Let's get these down. Number 1, you should never use a child's body for your own unmet needs, like take from that body. Number 2, you should never use physical pain of that body for discipline. Why? The body is too sacred to be used as a disciplinary device and to hurt it. You'll teach your children to hit, number 1. Number 2, you prostitute the body of the child, and then you wonder why he or she is prostituting her own body later. Why do people abuse their body? Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, which temple ye are, and the Spirit of God dwells within you? You can't teach a kid that her body is a temple if you're smacking it or taking from it. That girl's going to be making out in the backseat of a car for hours, and you know where that goes. Hugging, kissing, sexing program. And that is because of that, you see. So never take from a child's body. Never do violence to a child's body. Never criticize a child's body. You're too fat. Your hair is too stringy. You have split ends. Your eyes are like your mother's people, too close together. And Oh, you should hear the stuff I've heard. Don't criticize their body. It's sacred. Just like you should never make fun of the way somebody gives a testimony or praise. That's sacred stuff. Or hugs or kisses. You're a bad kisser. I had a little boy in there the other day, he's 10, and the neighbor girl said he was a bad kisser at 10. First of all, anyway, never mind. Don't criticize a person's body, their appearance, or that they walk wrong, or they throw a ball like a girl, or they do this or that. That's where we get that. So don't take from a body, don't violate the body, don't criticize the body. I don't know what the fourth one is, but it'll come to it. Well, that's enough, right? Yes.
Isn't sometimes the reason why people are promiscuous sexually is because they've been abused
Yes,
sexually as a
absolutely,
child?
absolutely. You remember what she said, isn't the reason why some people are promiscuous sexually is because they've been sexually abused? Absolutely. Girls who have been sexually abused, or boys, they'll end up overdoing sex or underdoing sex. And usually, I'm sorry to say, it's overdoing sex. Because they learn that's what boys want, that's the way you can matter, that's the way you can be popular, and you can get guys and all. But they never think about what kind of guy will you get. A bozo, yeah. But, so sexual abuse usually makes the person, the victim, more sexually active, and 30-40% of the case, it makes them frigid, cold, hate men, hate sex. They have terrible problems being married. They have terrible problems. Yes. So go ahead.
You know, when your child, when they're little and they start growing up and they follow the body and figure out, with my boys, I never said, oh, that's bad, you shouldn't do that. I would say, if you're going to do that, go in your room and do it. I never made it dirty. So then he never thought it was dirty. You know what I'm saying?
Like boys fondle themselves, girls too, they rock on pillows, they masturbate. They don't know they're doing it. It just feels good. Why is it so good for them? Because they have not had the physical affection. So they're using sexual arousal as a love substitute. You shouldn't shame them, but you should try and figure out, instead of saying, don't touch your genitals. They don't even know what you're talking go to your room, you bad wicked. Or a boy that comes home from school and asks his mom what a certain word means, starts with an F, and the mom slaps him. Did you ever talk like that? Mommy, what's a corner, right? So you want to answer, these guys that do porn, they say, I could never talk to my mom about sex. You got to. A lady told me the other day, her little boy came and said, how does the seed get from the daddy to the mommy? Does it fly through the air? Does it creep along the ground? Poor lady. Ask her father. What should she have done? You're wondering how it gets to the mommy? I see. Don't run off. Thank you. Later on, mommy, how does it? Healthy people, well, this isn't the lecture on sex, it's coming up, but the healthy people have in their houses pictures and drawings of female genitals and male genitals. And the little boy answers his question. And mommy, mommy, how does this work here? What is this? And what is that? And that's open. And sex is as real as rain. It's here to stay. You might as well calmly explain what they ask. If a kid asks one little question, and you give him the whole thing about the cycle and the periods and the vagina and the fallopian tubes and the clitoris and the blah, 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 don't do that. Remember the story about the preacher that was giving a talk and only one person came, so he went on and on and on, and after it was over, he said to a farmer, what do you think about my talk? And he says, well, if I'm out feeding the cattle and I have a whole load of hay and only one cow comes, I don't give her the whole load. So remember that what the kid asks for, timing, readiness. Don't answer any more. Don't get embarrassed. Don't get nervous, because if you do, What are you teaching them? Remember the body language, the voice tone? Well, the daddy and the mommy, they get together and here's a book. You do that, the kid's going to know, hey, there's something fishy going on here, right? Okay, so overuse of food, sex, drugs, and violence. If we talked about obesity in this country, woo, it's horrible. The drugs, violence. What do we mean violence is a substitute for no physical affection? There's lots of people that love to, they get real body thrills by knocking somebody out. That's a big thing in football. Yeah. Anyway, so remember physical affection. Remember the things you should never do. The body is sacred. If you treat your body sacredly, they will. I remember once when a little boy came home and he wrote a girl's phone number on his hand. And his daddy said, oh, I see you have a phone number on your hand. And the kid said, yeah. He was embarrassed because he likes girls. And his dad said, son, your body is a temple. You shouldn't write on it. He said, well, Mom does it every day. You're right, honey. But the kid remembered it. Think about that. Think about how sacred your body is. Because if you treat your body cheaply, so will your kids. A woman who has too much makeup is basically unhappy. Everyone knows that's a research fact. Yeah, it's a compensation. She doesn't like the way she looks, right? And we talked last night about the hair color of one, and not to mention breast augmentations and surgery of all kinds, because they live in appearance equals worth. Yeah. You want to be lust bait for some man? Get a breast augmentation. And all the men who have never been nursed will goggle. And you'll say, hey, he likes me. He doesn't like you at all. Your breast augmentation. Okay, any more questions? Yes?
Yes, you say that we need to wear out for things really important.
Yeah.
So the last thing that was the third one, it was criticize the body.
Right?
Which is the fourth one?
I don't know. There used to be 4. I think it was criticize the body, use the body, hurt the body, and maybe it was use it for your own unmet needs, as in the case of sexual abuse. Let's put that, sexual abuse. That's taking, right? And remember, sexual abuse has 3 parts: emotional abuse, verbal, and physical. So the idea of, oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. So many girls tell me, my father used to hug me. And when I started to develop and I had my period, he never hugged me anymore. And I say, well, Cindy, how did that make you feel? It made me feel ashamed of my body, that there was something dirty about me now. And what was the trouble with this poor father? He was afraid he'd be sexually aroused by his own daughter. See? He hasn't learned yet that sexual intercourse only belongs with your soul mate, your mystically bonded spouse, given to you by divine confirmation. And sex only goes with her. Nowhere else, the prophet says, partners are never exchangeable. Spencer Kimball. When pleasure is the number one, and positions are important, technique is number one, and partners are exchangeable, he said, it is not love, it is lust. Sex has returned to the animal level. Now wait, just a minute. I got to get this before I'll lose it. A healthy man, this guy, Abe Maslow, who's ever heard of Abe Maslow? One night he gave a talk, and he was the one that dreamed up or discovered or did research on the self-actualizing person. Before the series is over, I'm going to tell you the 16 traits of a self-actualizing person. And he said in this meeting, under question, a self-actualizing man could be in a room full of naked women and never get sexually aroused. Because nakedness does not equate sexual intercourse or sexual relations to that man. Sexual relations only belongs to him and his soulmate when they both want to make love. Remember I said it's one optional ways of many. And so many people are trying to cure pornography and lust problems by saying, don't look, put on blinders. No, she's evil. She has breasts and pear-shaped bottom. Oh, no. And they think they've solved the problem. That's not it. The problem is that you equate nudity with sexual intercourse. Huh? And Dr. Maslow said a self-actualizing man is never sexually aroused by anyone but his own soulmate. It's the only place sex belongs because it's a minor part of a healthy relation, not a major part. So you see, how many healthy men are there? 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20. And the solution to pornography is to put the filters on your computer, never look, go through the checkout stand like this, and that's not the solution. The solution is to fix your little boy when he was 12, 13, and 14, and he started to learn this stupid media that girls are sex objects, any genitals will do that fit, and on and on. That's the whole thing. I have a wonderful quote here, how Satan has progressively and systematically prostituted and cheapened the procreative act and turned it into the new national form of recreation, the new love substitute for people that haven't been held. There's no business about relationships or love or mystic bonding, you see? So when my patients can start learning that, I remember a patient that quit therapy because he had solved pornography. 2 months later, he called me back. His wife had left him because he did it again. I slipped, he said. And then I talked to his wife and I said, Joanne, when he quit therapy, did he still want sex a lot and was disgusted and mad and angry when you didn't feel like making love? Yeah. He wasn't cured then. If sex is so important to him with his own wife and he doesn't get it, he's going to go online. It's easier and cheaper, cyber sex. Because he still thinks. And so many women, when they discover their husband has done pornography, they think, oh, if I only would do more love, make love with him, watch the porn and see how those girls are better than me, and then he'll stop. Doesn't work. These guys are not into that. Variety is the spice of life. Girls are sex objects, like new cars, new houses, new wives, new sex partners. There's nothing left of sanctity, preciousness. It's crazy. And so pretty soon, I got that guy back as a patient. We started working on. When you were little, where did you start learning that girls were sex objects and their bodies were to be used for your pleasure and to substitute for this business here? And then they close their eyes, go back in time, and start telling that 12-year-old boy, that 13-year-old boy, that 14-year-old boy, that isn't it, honey. Daddy is wrong. Mommy is wrong. And if you have a daddy that won't hug her daughter because now she's turning into a beautiful woman, there's going to be problems in there, you see? So we have something we call, most of Satan's temptations will come through fear-based thoughts, which give all anxiety, all phobias, all panic attacks, all depression. Fear-based thoughts by the healthy person are replaced and changed into faith. Anger-based thoughts are replaced by forgiveness. Lust is replaced by beauty. I thank God daily that my sisters are so beautiful. The day is going to come when porn will be all over this country, just like it is in Germany, Scandinavia. I have a man that's a regional authority over there. He called me the other day, said, Sterling, we need your books. I need 500 of them. Pornography is the biggest problem in this whole stake of soldiers in Germany. He says, you can't understand. You see an advertisement on the bus for shampoo. You don't see the shampoo in the bottle and some girl washing her hair. You see a naked lady washing her hair to sell shampoo. And it's worse than that. He said, it's all over. Satan is raging in the hearts of men. Pretty soon our country, you're not going to be able to stay away from stuff like that. Porn-proof your children by giving glove supplies, talking about sex, having emotional and verbal unions, doing bear hugs instead of this junk, right? So that they will know bodies are sacred and they're wonderful, and teach them about that. And then you'll have kids that they'll see it. Oh, those poor sick people. Those girls, aren't they cold? Girls are people like you. I didn't know that. Why didn't someone teach me that? So physical affection, if you only knew how many wonderful problems it would solve, you start early and pour it in. I mean, I've had people say, you're crazy to hug your patients. They're going to sue you. They're going to say you sexually abused them. I wouldn't worry one bit about that. It's never happened. If you hug for right reasons, they want to, and it's the right timing, and you know it, wonderful. You don't go around doing it all the time, because there's a lot of people who do not want to be hugged because they've had trouble there, because they've had trouble there, because they've had trouble there, because they've had trouble.